Tamura-san, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. I would just like to ask initially how it feels to be director of the project now.
So being able to come here in New York and being able to hear a lot of the comments from North America and Europe, I feel I'm very happy to hear that a lot of people are interested in Dark Souls 2, but also feel a good sense of pressure in terms of delivering a great game.
And how have you decided? What have you decided to do in terms of new gameplay mechanics and new additions to Dark Souls 2? Because I guess the first one was so good. Is it incredibly hard to find how you can better it?
Oftentimes when companies create, or development companies create sequels, often the way they create sequels is often they try to add on new features, or they try to expand on the game itself. For Dark Souls though, however, because Dark Souls 1 was a fairly complete game in itself, I don't think that adding new features itself is the best way of proceeding. I personally feel that my task is to sort of enhance and try to deepen the core essence and try to deliver an even more pure, challenging experience for the gamers so that they can further enjoy the underlying concepts of what existed for Dark Souls 1.
Is there any possibility you could talk and maybe expand a little bit on the multiplayer, the sharing experience with other players that you mentioned during the presentation yesterday? How does that work, and how have you expanded it since the previous title?
So at this point, what we can tell you right now is obviously the key characterizing features that were in Dark Souls 1, such as the blood messaging, the invasions, the phantoms, the summoning, all that will be carried over into Dark Souls 2. These are core elements that are important to this Dark Souls, to the Souls series. However, because this game is going to be server-based now, we feel that there will be more connections, and players will be able to sense even more of the existence of other players in the world, and we feel that that itself will help enhance sort of the connection, the loose connection that we want to portray with this Dark Souls 2 game.
I thought it was interesting you mentioned and showed during the presentation the other day about players can encounter boss characters halfway through the level, halfway through a dungeon. What was the decision behind that? I saw you mentioned that it's to give players a sense of achievement even if they can't get through to the final boss normally.
So first off, what I wanted to try and accomplish was to get rid of the orthodox template of game procedure, I guess, by starting at the beginning of a stage, going to the end of the stage and defeating a boss, and then starting at the beginning of the next stage. I want to try and get rid of that a little bit, and I wanted to provide a little bit more freedom for the players to decide on their own in terms of how they want to conquer each of the stages. And this includes things like the boss appearing midway through and allowing the opportunity to defeat the boss even if you're not at the end of the stage. It also includes things like maybe branching off of certain levels depending on the concept that we want to portray in those levels, so that we can give a little bit more freedom in terms of whether the player wants to go left or right, whether the player wants to try and attack one certain boss versus the other. And so again, we wanted to just sort of break the template of regular game procedures, and the example that we showed you yesterday was just one of the examples of the things that we were trying to implement into the game.
I think unfortunately that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us today.
ちょっと時間がなくなっちゃってあれなんですけど、また次回楽しみにしてます。
ありがとうございました。